What's up, folks? Welcome back to the channel. Boozer here. Thanks for stopping by. Today's video, we are going to be talking about something a little bit on the negative side. Usually I try to avoid these types of topics, but I feel once in a while we need to, touch base with reality a little bit and show our claws. Anyway, I've been looking for a chance to make this video for a little while now, but obviously I had to find the right timing and inspiration to actually talk about some of this stuff. But in this video, we're going to be talking about basically the truth about Raid Shadow Legends. Sometimes it's hard to believe these things that happen in game are mere coincidences, and often we give Plarium the benefit of the doubt. But the truth is, this game is solely out to get your money, and the game is perfectly designed to do so. And in my opinion, completely deliberate strategies and tactics that maximize the chance of you spending money. Anyways, in this video, we're going to talk about all of that. So let me know in the comments below how you guys feel about that. A little bit of a touchy subject, of course, but hopefully you guys enjoy it, at least for entertainment purposes. So let's dive into it. First of all, this game, we can all agree that Plarium does an amazing job at making the game look amazing. And the other thing that Plarium actually does, not just doing graphics really well, but they actually make a game that is catered to the player in that it keeps you glued to the game, keeps you coming back to the game. What I mean by this is, if you guys ever noticed, there are a million different timers in this game. There's a million different timers in this game. Look at this, gem production. We have the 1 hour refresh on the market. Now, the market was like totally useless up until a couple months ago. Now it actually is kind of useful because you can get some gear from it now. There's also daily reset, so that's 24-hour timers. You have timers for the soul merchant, so 12-hour time there. Of course, you have the guardian ring, so you have tons of timers here. What am I talking about, and what is the relevance of these timers? So the obvious relevance of these timers is that they force you to check in on the game. When you check in on the game, obviously this means you're engaged in the game, and it gives you, or gives Plarium, a opportunity to sell you something. And as we all know, there's a million ads that pop up in this game, and that's kind of how they have their opportunity. They put their little hooks in the water and they see what they can get. So don't think that these random timers everywhere are random for a reason. Also, on top of these random timers, if you ever look at these events seemingly are all over the place, and they rarely ever line up together, in that they don't start together and they don't end together unless it's for a bigger event. And again, this is surely by design to make you constantly check in on the game, to check the progress of the events, and again, keeping you in the game. There are literally a million timers in this game, and they're all different. Why? Platinum reset, Hydra reset, Chimera reset, Clan Boss reset, CVC reset. Why are they all different? Why? Because it constantly drags you into this game to check in on things. You're effectively in this game 24 hours a day if you want to be on top of everything. That's why it feels like you are constantly in this game, because you kind of are if you actually are following everything. Now, what about quality of life? So Plarium has tackled some things in the recent past where they offered some pretty good quality of life features. So for example, Demon Lord, they have the quick battle feature, which is really nice, right? They have the Hydra, also quick battle going to Hydra now. That's also really nice. Well, they only really offer that after years of that content being available. Demon Lord nowadays is basically so power crept that it's non-existent anymore outside of the first 3 months of the game. Things like blessings, relics, empowerments, brimstone, stronger champions, easier to get champions, they've all contributed to Demon Lord being less and less difficult. Now for Hydra, they did implement the quick battles relatively quickly in terms of its lifespan. However, I think Hydra, they kind of just threw in the towel after the whole Trunda business, and then first of all, they set these personal rewards here. And so they're basically saying, here you go, guys. You guys can have all this. Don't worry about placing in top 3. And then after they did the whole Trunda fix, and then that didn't work out as intended, they basically just said, we're going to throw in the towel on this content. Here's quick battles. See you later. Because the point of the quick battles, it does keep you in the game. However, it also slightly invalidates how strong of a team or gear that you actually need. Because, for example, you might be inclined to put less effort into this level of content if you can just quick battle out of it. So I could see why they didn't want to do that, but I could see why they did that, because these content features are kind of dead already. I would expect Chimera to have a quick battles eventually. Right now, people are still quite into it. So they're optimizing teams, basically pulling for champions, spending money on gear, whatever, to optimize teams for Chimera. But I'm pretty sure quick battles will come for that. And then to a lesser extent, probably Curse City. So Curse City will probably set up some kind of quick battle climb, similar to like Doom Tower, how Doom Tower can just auto climb for you now. Why not in Centranos just set a path? And then just use your most recent team. Just set a path and click auto click and then just go away. I can see that happening as well. Right now, obviously it's fresh. People are still optimizing teams, still spending, money, gear, whatever, re-gearing stuff, training champions to get the right teams. But yeah, there would be a big quality of life in the future. I'm sure they will do that. But of course, they're not going to do that until after we've already exhausted resources building those teams. And then we'll have the next piece of content. So Plarium, obviously a master at all of this. Now that leads me into my next quality of life feature that is obviously very nice, but it probably has some negative or some benefit for Plarium. That's usually how it goes. When they give us something, it's very rarely a net positive for us and net nothing for them or a net negative. So in this case, we can look at something like background battles. So the background battles, right? Let's take a look at background battles here for a second. All right, so I'm going to hop in here, do a background battle with my RTAC, start background multi-battle. So I'm going to click this and it's happening in the background. That's great. So now I want to do something else. Like for example, oh, my arena tokens are capped out. Let's do some arena fights. Oh, wait, I can't because my multi-battles are active. Let's do some faction wars. How about that? We'll start on some faction wars to save some time. Unfortunately, I don't have the keys, but it would have gave you the same warning as well. Basically, you cannot enter the faction wars either. Let's do another dungeon. Is that even possible? Let's do another dungeon. Nope, that's not possible. What can you do when multi-background battles are active? Nothing really. You can't do any of the boss fights. You're basically just hanging out here, looking at your gear, probably playing around with some champions, spending some silver, moving stuff around, leveling stuff up. You're spending resources, maybe doing training, spending resources there. But the big thing is you're in the Bastion. And this, I think, is deliberate. Basically, the background multi-battles does not allow you to be very productive in terms of acquiring resources, but they allow you to be basically, have more time to spend resources. And not only that, you're in the Bastion where ads can pop up at you. And this increases the likelihood that you would spend money in the game. Obviously ads, and then you're right next to the shop, right? You might want to pick up something. Maybe there's a progressive event. Maybe there's a shard pull event happening. And then, maybe there's a shard pack that pops up and you're interested. So this basically can only occur when you have background multi-battles, right? For example, if you did not have those background multi-battles, you would be watching my RTAC try to kill the ice golem, for 2 minutes. And that 2 minutes of watching RTAC, solo the ice golem dungeon kind of takes away the opportunity for Plarium to make money from you, right? I think it totally makes sense. The fact that they limited the background multi-battles like this in this way, I wonder if their analytics show any kind of increase in their spending ever since they implemented it. Now, the next thing I want to talk about that Plarium does really well is frustrate everybody. Everyone from the start of the game all the way to the end of the game. It's especially frustrating in the beginning when you look at some of these pieces of content and they seem like it's actually impossible to basically get through. For example, when you first start your Great Hall, when you're a brand new account, it literally looks impossible. And there's no going around it. It takes about 2 years playing, every arena fight every day, unless you're, capping out with gems or something. But it takes you about 2 years to finish this off. It seems impossible, especially when you start. Then you have things like, the soul stones. How long will it take you to get one of these big guys if you were just starting out this game? It would just seem impossible to get one of these resources. Same thing with the faction guardians. How do you fill this? How do you put guys in here? How do you empower champions? How do you have enough tokens to buy one of these? It literally seems impossible. So the runway for this game is incredibly long, and it's very frustrating when you look at it and say, hey, I have to play this game for years. So this level of frustration, I feel, can push people to, spend, right? Try to cut ahead a little bit, right? Get a little bit of a heads up. going through some of these things when they want to complete certain things, right? Like for example, faction wars, right? You got Lydia here, but it looks like it's actually impossible with the amount of, obviously the factions that are going on right now. So maybe you would decide to try to give yourself a bit of a head start, right? Also things, we can talk about things like Doom Tower, Curse City and stuff, but the progression arc in this game, it's extremely frustrating in the beginning. I would say the first 3 months, if you're not super experienced in this game, if you're super casual, the game doesn't explain itself well. It's hard to find information on things, and that just leads to frustration. And definitely in the beginning of the game, spending probably happens a lot. And it's probably the most impactful in the beginning, where you can get some, a good boost. For example, like a Forge Pass gives you quite a bit of, high quality gear that you wouldn't be able to obtain otherwise. So spending occurs in the beginning. And I think Plarium does this obviously by design. And a lot of games do this by design, especially in the beginning, to bypass the opening grind. You spend a little bit of money. Plarium does this perfectly, except the opening grind is literally like the first year of the game until you can comfortably do Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss. And then you can kind of take yourself off the spending for shards and spending for books, for example. Now, obviously, you can do all this stuff without spending any money in the game, but that's not for everybody, right? Conversely, we're talking about early game experience and early game frustration and spending. On the opposite end, the super mega end game, you also have equal levels of frustration where the goalposts are constantly moving and the spending never stops. The spending never stops. You can never outspend this game. Almost, pretty much, you can never outspend this game. And the way Plarium constantly moves the power creep, moves the bars for everybody, especially at the top end, it makes it obviously very unreasonable for anybody to continuously pump money into this game. It's actually insane. I mean, Plarium, absolute masters at figuring this stuff out, how to get people to spend money. All right, here's another pain point. Here's another pain frustration that I actually have, especially for newer players as well. And this generally leads to basically having less resources and more likely to spend, right, for people. Look at the amount of resources you have in this game. Look at the amount of resources you have in this game. And then you have this, you have basically your own currency resource here as well. You have, you have tokens here as well. What else do you have? You have clan shop coins now. You have relics going on. You have all sorts of these currencies going on right now. This is strictly to confuse players. There's so much currency going on in this game. It's so confusing. Look, there's currencies here. There's like blue crystals, white crystals, red crystals. There's all sorts of stuff going on. And this is just meant to confuse the player base. It also is meant to dilute actual resources. So for example, instead of giving us a shard, why not they just give us, 30% of a shard instead? So this kind of pushes people to be like, hey, I need my 70% of a shard, so I'll just top it up by buying it, for example, right? You don't get actual resources when you're doing these events as well sometimes. So instead of getting like, for example, we recently had a dungeon diver where they were giving these mystery chests, gold chests, platinum chests, diamond chests. You don't even know what you're getting in these chests. So at this point, you could be getting a resource that has absolutely no use to your account, or you can get a resource that you can get lucky on. But at that point, you have no idea what you're getting. And along the way, you're just getting a bunch of random stuff like multi-battles, 50k silver. Like a lot of the resources, they just don't equate to anything. And at the end of the day, it's just not enough resources for players. And then it ultimately leads them back into the spending shop, right? The less we get, the more likely we're going to be able to, buy packs and top up resources and all that. Also, the rising cost of events. So you have the double whammy, right? They're not really supplementing our resources enough with like random promo codes and stuff like that. They're kind of taking our resources little bit by little bit and then inflating some of these events to cost more and more. Here's a good example of this. Classic Arena Takedown. We got 20 Titan points here. It's always been 30, so they're taking away some of our Titan points. This is the main prize in this, by the way. Look at this, guys. Look at the level that they're sinking to. 6-star rare relentless gear. This used to be 6-star epic relentless gear. Why do this? Why dilute the top prize like this? I don't understand. It's a small gripe, but you just don't, why even do that? It doesn't help anybody, but why even do that? They're just slowly taking away our resources little bit by little bit. replacing it with fragments of resources. And there's so many currencies, they're just gonna, leave us with little bits of currency. Look at this. Like I have 5 of this blue prism soulstone crystal or quartz or whatever. What am I doing with this 5? This is like the loose change you have in your pocket that you throw into the fountain at the end of the day, right? Like this is something that you work for, but it's a piece of something and you can't even use it. This is kind of what I mean. And ultimately, it leads to a little bit of frustration. It leads to less resources in your account, and it leads to you probably, being tapped out of resources and having to spend. Anyways, guys, in conclusion, we all know that Plarium was mostly owned by a company called Aristocrat, which is a casino machine company. They know all the tricks of the casinos. They have used similar strategies and all that stuff. If you guys didn't know, in casinos, they have no clocks anywhere. They have no windows anywhere because they don't want you to know what time of day it is. They want you to be in the casinos all day, all night, right? Because naturally, if it's dark, we probably want to go home. If the sun's rising and we're still inside, we might think to ourselves, hey, there's something wrong. I'm still in the casino, right? But in the real casinos, they never have those things around, so you don't know what time of day it is. For example, here's another tactic that they use. They have purposely put on the ground horrible looking carpets that contrast and hurt your eyes. So your eyes don't want to look on the ground. Your eyes are constantly up, like eye level or higher. This means that you're looking at the table games, you're looking at the people, you're looking at the machines, you're not looking at the ground. Now, these are all tactics to basically engage you in the casino floor, keep you in the casino, and this maximizes the chances that the casino will, get a chance at you spending money. Plarium, same thing, right? They have the same kind of tricks here to suck us into the game, keep us coming back, checking up on things, making things super, super scarce and frustrating to get. But at the same time, that's what makes this game rewarding, is when things work out, when you get that achievement, when you finish those, for example, faction wars, when you one key that Ultra Nightmare clan boss. Those are the things that are, massive payoffs, right? Especially with how hard and scarce this game is sometimes. But it all just feels like a deliberate attempt, a very smart strategic attempt by a company with a great game to basically try to get your money. But anyways, that's my 2 cents on everything. A little bit of a negative take. Hopefully I spun it in a way that was informative for you guys and or entertaining. Okay guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. I know it's a bit of a charged topic here, but hey, I'm passionate about this game. I'm sure you guys are passionate about Raid as well, and we just want to see it be better and treat us better as well. All right guys, that's it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.